Welcome, wonderful souls, to the Lightness of Being Podcast. I'm Monika Stefanik, your guide for a deep dive into a world where magic, reality, and divine love intersect. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin. Okie dokie. Well, I'm here to just be real honest. Entering into Lunar New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. As of yesterday, and just sitting with a lot. Been feeling pretty confronted with all of the awareness that has been coming through around, patterns and pains and pathways that have been very prevalent for quite some time now, and getting to be in the position that I am, which is in a place of my own and completely in my own energy. Honestly, for most of this eclipse portal, I got here 2 days before the new year. No, day before. Oh my god, it's only Wednesday. Wait, it's only Wednesday. I got here on Monday. Yesterday was Tuesday, New Year, all the planets doing their thing, moving, eclipse, sun's now in Pisces. Like, I feel like I've lived a lifetime in like 2.5 days. It's 1:09 p.m. on Wednesday. Anyway, what's happening? This is crazy. Yeah, getting to have the divine opportunity to get to like be in a space of my own during this potent portal is such a gift and a blessing, and I feel a lot of gratitude for it because yeah, there's been a lot, and I know obviously I'm not the only one, and I'm just someone who thrives best when I have some space to myself in my gene keys, which I don't know if I'm going to remember this right part in my moving, as potentially we might use the video for this, so I'm just going to get some better light and situation going on. My Harry Potter sweatshirt. Harry Potter's a big part of my life for a really long time, still is. Shaped the person I am today. Thank you. That's better. In my gene keys, my radiance, which is like our vitality, our health, and our wellness and our well-being, does best, and my line with that one is solitude. And so I definitely like have this radiance that gets to come through me when I have a lot of time alone. And so grateful for this beautiful space and my friends who steward this home and this land, and the many opportunities I've had to help hold it down while they're away with their creatures and my creature and all these fun little dog toys in the background. Anyway, yeah, it's what a wild time we're in, and I don't, this just happened like off the cuff. The publishing of my podcast has been on pause for a couple of different reasons, and I'm really desiring to dive back into that. And so who knows if this is going to get published out in the world, but I'm going to operate under the pretense that it may, and we'll just kind of see what happens with that. Yeah, that's kind of a tender topic, the podcast. And I'm also just trusting divine timing alignment with how that is all meant to unfold and flow. So yeah, I've just been there. What like sparked this was I was literally laying over here in this comfy couch area earlier in my interesting, not like full victim mindset, but I was just like, oh, I'm so tired. I've been training a lot, and so like my body is really sore in like a great way. But it's really sore. I'm really tired. I'm like out in this beautiful oasis outside of town. I'm gonna have to go back into town today to get to work with my beautiful clients, which I'm so grateful. Um, but there's also some preparation for that, like making food and making sure I have everything for the creatures and all of that. And I was like, I don't want to do literally anything. I don't want to do any of it. I just want to lay here. But then, like, when I lay here and I'm in silence, then, like, all of these things are coming in that are, like, having me process, which is fine, but it's also a lot. And so then I was, like, crying. And then, yeah, feeling some weird stuff move through. And I was like, okay. So it's like memoing with a girlfriend and just, like, finding different ways to navigate it. And then also, like, surrendering into the silence, which I love. And it's just like, it just feel, I mean, talk about fire horse. I'm like, we're just going, like, it's just whatever it is, we're just rolling with it now. I feel like that's what this season is for me, where I'm like, we're just rolling, we're just flowing, whatever it is. And like, and now I'm here doing this, and I had no idea that this was gonna get to be a thing that I get to sit and share. So going from being over there and like, oh my God, how am I gonna do the rest of this day? This is crazy. To like, I have food on the stove that I'm gonna have to go tend to in approximately, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Um, that I just threw in my Dutch oven and that will nourish my body now and that I will have for leftovers later. And I did that, so proud of that. And yeah, just even getting up and moving and not letting myself go too much into the uh, feelings of mm, like the tension. It's good tension that's like in the physical muscles of my body because of how I've been able to train it. And like, thank you, body, so much for like how strong you are and the ability to get to move in the way that I do and the multitude of ways that I get to be with it and move it. And it's just such a gift to get to be in a body. And also, it's tight right now. And I would like a massage, but I'm gonna go give massages today. um, yeah, really cool, interesting period of time to be in. And so just let's ground this. Um, Thank you for being with me as my neurospicy brain does its neurospicy things. Um, yeah, the just speaking to my perception and experience of what has been arising for me and through me honestly over the last like 2 weeks, very potently over the last 2 weeks. And then the last couple little things that have been moving through, just the other day, it's been such a profound experience because I mean, like we've all heard about, oh, it's shedding the snakeskin, all of this, like blah blah blah. Yes, yes, we hear all this messaging now. Even if you're not into astrology, you're hearing about the shedding and the ending of the year of the snake and moving into the fire horse. And the beyond all the talk about it, the visceral embodied experience of that has been so confronting and really beautiful at the same time, like noticing these pieces and parts of self that either have intentionally been clinging to or have just been hanging on that are ready to just be released. And I am finding, at least in my experience, that there's a lot of really old things that I've been working on over the past couple of years, um, that are releasing with a lot of ease, which is so beautiful. And but just because they're releasing with ease doesn't mean that the way in which they move through me is necessarily easy. Because they're not. It's making me really like look at those particular aspects and acknowledge them and love them and thank them and look at the ways those parts have moved my actions in this world over the last couple of years, which the way that it has impacted me and the really challenging situations that have presented themselves to me for me because of those ways of being, um and recognizing that, obviously it is me. I chose that. It's not like shame or blame on the other people or situations or life or whatever it is. And also just like a deep love and compassion and forgiveness for those aspects of myself, because at that point in time I was doing the best that I could with what I had, and that's what we're all doing at any given point in time. And we're all navigating challenge that others know absolutely nothing about. And so, like always just being deeply, deeply kind when we encounter others, especially when we encounter others that challenge us. Because a lot of the time we're moving from a very tender place, and the way that that is expressed doesn't always look as tender. Um, and, you know, there is always that like hurt child inside that is just looking for love, and that's really all that we're all looking for, is to love and be loved, right? And what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. And recognizing that the love that we are seeking and looking for is consistently existing all around us in every single moment of every single day. And we get to choose to tap into that frequency of love and of gratitude. And it really is a choice. And I know that that is a practice to cultivate, because it's definitely taken me a good amount of time to get to the point where I'm at, where I feel like I can tap into it more easily and quicker than I used to be able to. And I also still have really challenging moments. Hence, earlier, laying down on the floor, being like, someone come save me, right? Someone come make food for me. Um, Someone come do the thing for me. And it's like, it's beautiful when we have that kind of support around us, right? And being able to ask for help is a huge part of navigating the human experience. And also, there are times where we're just alone. And that doesn't mean that we don't have the support that we need, and that doesn't mean that we can't access the love of being able to really like care for ourselves in whatever way that needs to look. And I recognize that I have been doing like a lot of output, and what my body really needed, I'm like, well, no one's gonna come make you food, and you need that, and you also need to care for these creatures. And so how can I do that in a way that is in alignment with the love that I am, and showing myself the nutrients and the nurturance that I deeply desire and my body is asking for, but from a space of flow and not force, right? Like I don't need to overdo and create a grand, glorious meal. It's like, what's like the simplest, most nutritious thing that I can make that will be easeful for my muscularly exhausted body to be able to create for myself. And doing that actually felt really good. And obviously, it being on the stove, which I now have to go check. And now I have beautiful food to be able to eat later. And it was still like a process to get to that place. So I don't know. I don't really know what the point of this. Henry is dreaming over there on the couch. Um, this recording is fully. Let's take a pause. Yes, okay. Beyond the beyond the call to just sit and speak. Um, I just checked my food. It's great and it's done, which is so delightful. I made this stew with what's in there? Bone broth, sweet potato, onion, carrots, uh, delicata squash, and like some spices, you know. I think that might be it, but I'm stoked about it. Anyway, oh, lentils. I was like, there's a base in there. Lentils. Um, I'm mostly vegetarian, by the way. Do have some bone broth and things in my life when that feels like what my body needs, which it did now. Yeah. Um, it's interesting the experience I find myself in of like feeling called to speak to certain specifics without like revealing specific things that are going on in my life, because like if this does end up out in the world, I'm like, I don't know how much, you know, like I'm super down to be vulnerable. Um and I don't need to know like the deep intricacies of everything that goes on. Um hmm. And a lot of what has arisen for me has been around relating in all of its different shapes and forms. Whether it's these beautiful creatures or romantic relationship or friendship. Hello, honey. Um, her name is literally Honey, and she's the sweetest. Yes, yes, sweet baby. Um, and from finding a lot of discernment around the kind of relationships and frequency of fields that I desire to have around me, that requires a lot of release. And one of the things that's always been really challenging for me is I don't love to let people go. It's really hard and hits on a very deep wound, you know, from childhood, probably even ancestrally, who knows. Uh, but when, like, because the people that are in my life that I share this life with, I just love so deeply and so openly and so freely, and I share my heart very fully. And so a lot of my learning has been a process of discernment of like, okay, how do I share of myself fully and also not, mm, I don't know how to put that. Like, pour into something that's not being reciprocated. Um, and for so many different reasons that happens. Um, and to just like really look at the reality of certain situations with um, different types of relationships in my life and kind of doing an audit, of it all and being like, well, who do I feel like truly, genuinely not just says that they care, but like actually shows action that they care and not just like care about me, but also like, what I'm doing in this world and like how we can all be a support system for each other and having that real sense of like communion and community. And that is like the frequency that I have been calling in. And so, of course, I'm being provided with situations where it's like, this is not it, and this is not it, but this is it, and this is it. And I'm like, okay, all right. And yeah, one of the edgiest things in my life has always been letting people go, and I don't want to do that. And I'll just speak vulnerably is because like I have a wound of abandonment. And so like I know what it feels like to feel abandoned in the many different ways that can feel. And it feels really good to say that out loud to a greater audience, I guess. And so then I don't want to abandon others because I'm like, well, I know how that feels. So I don't want you to feel that way, thinking that I know how they're going to feel, which I don't know how they're going to feel. And maybe they do feel that way. And that's not my responsibility. And if they don't feel that way, then also, or however they feel, that's also not my responsibility. And there's a way to obviously, like, shift connections and relationships in our life with grace and uh, honoring and respect. It doesn't mean just like, bye, peace out, I'm done. Totally not how that goes. At least I would prefer if things did not go that way. I have had things go that way, and not my preference, but everything unfolds as it's meant to, and trust that process. So, yeah. Um, I guess that leads into um God, I really hope that this is like landing and isn't all over the place because I am not tracking where I'm going right now. um just as I was saying, like trust, that has obviously been a huge part of any process of unfolding and releasing and letting go is just a deep divine trust in all that is. Um, Seeing things for how they are, really looking at the actions of the immediate environment around you and if that's in alignment with where you are desiring your energy to be. And if it's not, finding ways to release and let that go and surrendering and trusting into the process that when you take that leap of faith that you are going to be caught. And every time I've ever done it, I've always been caught, and yet it doesn't make it any easier reaching that edge and having to jump off yourself. And even though that trust continues to grow and develop, um, I don't know, maybe someone older and wiser than me might have something different to say. But at least in my experience, again, it doesn't feel like it gets easier. It gets. My experience has been that like there's like a softening around it. Like there's not so much resistance. I've had a lot of resistance, a lot of control. Hello, Henry Bear. Um, yeah, a lot of resistance and a lot of control. When things don't go the way that I want them to. Has that ever happened to you? No? Just me? Okay. Uh, and the other day when I was in yoga, in Shavasana after this class, it felt like it was like the evening before the New Year, and I could just feel all these extra little pieces like falling apart. And there's this bigger thing that's been really alive that I've been holding it loosely. But I wouldn't say gripping, but I have been holding on in a way. And in Shavasana, when it started to come up and there was a song and I was crying and whatever, um, just that place of like, I put myself in the position of how it would feel to just let it go. And it felt so much better. It felt so much lighter in my world to just let it go. So that's what I did. And still like some little remnants, but that same kind of like holding doesn't exist in my body and in my world anymore. And I think maybe it's an interesting awareness to even just track, like, if there's something that's really alive for you, like, not that you have to do anything about it, but to just notice if you're gripping or holding and what it might be like if you just put it down for a little bit. I'm not saying you have to let it go completely, but maybe even just set it down for a little bit or allowed someone else to hold it with you, or maybe put yourself in the experience of what it would be like to not be carrying that with you anymore. And just noticing how that feels in your body and in your being. And again, it's not like you get to decide what kind of action you choose to take. Um, but those types of practices just help us gain deeper awareness. And from that awareness is our free will, conscious choice to decide how we desire to move through this life and this living. And what a gift to have that free will to be able to do that. Um, yeah. So, with that, hopefully, this was a contribution. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk in the living room in Central Oregon, surrounded by a lot of incredible creatures that are not in the frame. In my sweatpants and my rawness. Thank you for listening and receiving me and sending out my deepest heartfelt wish for a lot of ease and joy as we navigate these times that we find ourselves in, and just to remember that community is really important. Finding your people is your real people is of vital importance, and when you find them, cherish them, hold them close, be sure there is reciprocity going on there, and that hard conversations are part of that process. And just because there may be conflict or constriction doesn't mean that there isn't communion and that there isn't love there. And being sure to nurture and support that connection with yourself first and foremost, so that all of life gets to come to you and help work in your highest alignment. Like when we are being and emanating the frequency of what we're dreaming and desiring, that is when it truly begins to become our reality. Love you all so much. Beautiful day. Happy Lunar New Year.